Hey, we're so glad you chose to be here today, friends. We're going to have a great time. We have Clinton Allen in the studio. Hey, Clinton.
Hey, Clay.
How you doing, brother?
That's good to be here, man. I
Hey.
love you. I'm honored to be here with you.
Thanks. Tell us about your family.
My family is made up of a gorgeous wife of mine by the name of Portia, and we have 3 crazy boys. Our life is full. We have our oldest, Caden, just turned 14.
Oh, wow.
Our middle son, Malachi, is 12. And Clay, the boss of the family, his name is Shepherd. He's 8, or so he likes to think he's the boss of.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some of those in my family, too. They think they're in charge.
That's right.
Let them think that. I mean, it makes life a little easier if you don't. 14. I mean, I remember 14. It was a good year for me, but, man, life changes
100%.
about that time.
100%. It was really fun to celebrate him. It was last week, and we typically do a family birthday, and then we'll have a big party on their significant birthdays, like 5, double-digit, 10, 15, And so I love that our boys still love to hang around us, and that's a blessing, the dynamic that God's given us in that sense, that our boys still want to be around us.
Yeah. Yeah, we do the same thing. We have family birthdays for whoever, and it's family time, brother. That's what it is. It's just
right.
Like my granddaughter, she just had a big birthday for her, 25.
Awesome, yeah.
25. And so she said she was going to have a birthday, and the theme was SpongeBob.
Oh, that's funny.
And no, that's not what I said. I said, I'm not coming to no birthday. Because when they were at the house, I went,
an adult,
you can watch anything you want, but don't turn on SpongeBob, okay? I said, I don't know what that is, but it's not a cartoon, all right? So she had her SpongeBob, but we for everybody, whether you're adult or child, we have ice cream and cake, and then normally play cards or whatever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Just some kind of game.
That's exactly what we do. It's very low key.
Yeah,
cake and ice cream.
Very, absolutely.
Uno tournament. That's our go-to.
I like Uno. It doesn't take a lot of thinking. Okay.
Exactly.
My son, he hates Uno for the same reason. There's no strategy.
It doesn't push him enough?
There's no. It does. There's no strategy here, Dad.
Right.
So, your in-laws are Gordon and Joan Butler.
Yeah.
Good people. Gordon.
They're great
we were
people.
talking before with Chris about Gordon. Gordon's been a good friend, long-time supporter of Metro. One of the things that we do is we have a mom's banquet every year, and Joan would come to the mom's banquet.
Yeah.
And I knew if Joan came, God was going to show up.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I knew if
that's pretty much any room she was in.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. She would pray for whoever about whatever.
Right.
And I knew that if she was there, then God was going to show up and some needs was going to be met.
Wow.
In the house.
Absolutely.
That day. So that's kind of the heritage that you married, and you know that already. That's the heritage that you married into.
100%. 100%. I love my family and I love where I came from, who I came from, but it was also a blessing to marry into this family. They've known me since I was 13 years old. I believe is how far we go back. I know this, that Gordon gave me my first set of golf clubs at like 12 or 13. So we've been knowing each other for a lot of years.
Is your family from military?
No. Portia's family, Gordon and Joan, obviously. If you know, I shouldn't say obviously for anybody watching, but you know them as close friends as you guys are. You know that they're a former military family before they became, before they entered the ministry. And but no, my family is not. My family and the Butlers met each other when we transitioned to this local church in Dallas. And Portia's dad, Gordon, was the executive pastor there.
Okay.
And so we kind of grew up together. Different grade levels.
Yeah.
And
we're not going to say on this program that you married an older woman.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare call my wife a cougar.
Because
that
would get us in really, really trouble, right?
Clay, I would never say that.
Chris will edit that out for us, so that doesn't make the airwaves.
Yeah, it doesn't make the airwaves, so my wife will never hear that, Chris. But yeah, they are a special family, and for those watching, my mother-in-law, who was incredible, went to go be with Jesus a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's really fun to still talk about her and remember how special she was. And
Right.
Clay just means a lot. The
Yeah,
friend you are to our family, and how much they think of you.
The last time I saw Joan, she was at Barbara's funeral. So last time I saw her.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Last
time I saw her live. So
that's right. I knew that. Yeah.
Her and Gordon and I have been on the same journey for a while, and it's not one that you can plan for, my friend.
Right.
And so that's why I really think that you and Portia and your boys being here, it's a real pivotal time for Gordon. And so I applaud you for coming.
Thanks for saying that, Clay.
Investing in him. He's, even at his age, he's still investable. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Thanks for saying that. It certainly has been, we feel, it's reciprocated, but I think that we feel like we benefit the most by being in his proximity and the way he's loved on our boys and loved on us and invested in us. And so, yeah, we believe God ordained how we've come back together in this season. So,
yeah. Now, from what I remember, you were a financial major. Am I right on that?
Yeah, which is comical given the fact that, as Dave Ramsey would say, there's always a saver and a spender in every relationship, and I'm the spender. So, and my wife is a saver. But yeah, I think coming up, I was just doing a teaching, a workshop at a local church recently, where I talked about our call and how in our Christian circles, I think we put a lot of weight into, man, I feel called to be a worship pastor. I called to be a missionary. And I wrestled with that a long time because I felt like I didn't. And I think it paralyzed me from taking steps forward in all that God wanted me to do until I really grasped what I feel is a stronger call to Matthew 28:19, the Great Commission. We're all called to fulfill the Great Commission, to love people to Christ.
And you might want to say that again. That's, the North Texas District just had a called Sunday recently, last week or two. Anyway, so the Lord began speaking to me about this in summer of 2024. Mm-hmm. A lot of churches struggling to fulfill the mandate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really made a commitment that in 2025 I would help whosoever with their mandate. Whatever that looked like, and that what the Lord had really impressed me was that the miracle was already in the house.
Yeah, that's so good.
So everybody is called.
That's
called.
The
first thing.
Everybody's called.
All of us.
All of us.
Now the assignment changes, and the assignment 100%. May look different.
100%.
And just because, and you don't know how long. That's the hiccup. You don't, and so how do you handle that? Well, you hold tightly to the call.
Correct.
But you hold loosely to the assignment.
100%.
And when you do that, then it gives the Lord freedom to use you. And once again, that doesn't change your commitment to that assignment.
Not at all.
At all. It's just that. I shared with this came up maybe a week or two ago in the podcast, in the assemblies, and this is all I know about since this is what I'm a part of. The pastors fall into two categories. We move every 2 years, or we stay for life.
Yeah.
So I decided that was not going to be me over here. So I was going to be committed to life. Well, and I'm still committed for life. That hasn't changed.
That's right.
But your assignment can change because life changes, and so
it was very liberating for me personally to embrace that.
Oh, absolutely.
That concept, because I call it either a hat or a role or vehicle. I'm like, the vehicle that God has given me for a lot of years is worship.
Yeah. Worship
leading in particular, but that hat or vehicle, the analogy I'm using, could, to your point, Clay, that could change. That could one day I could. Maybe my role, my hat, my vehicle is I'm a custodian or a school teacher or missionary. But I had to learn, probably I wrestled with that way longer than I care to admit. that the call is to love people to Christ, is to fulfill
absolutely.
the Great Commission, and
Yeah.
and I'd had too often I let my identity be wrapped up in the title.
Now don't start meddling today, brother.
I was like, oh, if I'm not a worship leader, then who am I?
And that's the
What am I?
danger with holding your assignment
Correct.
tightly.
Correct.
And you don't even realize it.
You don't even realize it.
All of a sudden, it becomes you. Instead of, this is what the Lord's allowing me to do.
Right.
This is my assignment for right now. Now, again, the tough part about that is the balancing act. Because if you're not careful, then when things get tough, you're out of here.
Oh, yeah.
God's,
Right.
and that's why I say I don't want to be a part of this 2-year group over here, because for many of them, they left because it got hard.
Right.
Well, if it hadn't gotten hard, then I got to start asking, what are you doing?
There's sacrifice involved with anything that's worth chasing and pursuing. And
Absolutely.
If we run away at everything that's hard, we'd run away from every relationship. We'd run away from every job that got hard.
Could that be the reason that the divorce rate is the same in the church as out of the church?
Clay, that has to be part of the equation, hasn't it? Because if I'm not happy, then I'm out. And it's about
It's
me,
about
me,
Yeah,
I, right? And so,
Yes.
like it got hard. I didn't want to fight for my marriage, and I'm out. And it probably sounds very callous and broad. So I don't want to diminish any relationship out there. I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not trying to diminish any relationships out there that had different dynamics going on, abuse.
Yeah, right.
All the things that can go on.
Right.
But I think I'm speaking from a topical perspective. Those who felt I'm just not happy in the relationship, and that gives me grounds then to leave. I can't subscribe to that personally.
Yeah.
Because as we're saying, we don't apply that to anything else.
Yeah, and I agree with that like 100%. I tell people all the time, just because she burned the meal tonight, that doesn't give you an excuse to divorce him. Or if he went out with the guys this weekend.
Right.
Now, I'm not condoning either one, but that's not an excuse to call it quits. And the worst part, and I do subscribe that there are situations that do merit separation.
Right.
And anybody wants to call me on that, I'll be glad to talk to them.
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example or two,
Right.
But the hard part about that are the children.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I've ever dealt with any family that went through the divorce and the children didn't blame themselves. I mean, it's probably not 100%, but if it's not 100, it's pretty high.
It's got to be pretty high. I mean, personally speaking, that's part of my story. As a product of a divorce home, and I fall right into that category that you're talking about. Without counseling, without healing, without men in my life walking with me, showing me what a healthy marriage looks like, what it looks like to pursue the things of God, being a godly man, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. So how did you go from being a financial person to being on staff at a church?
I think my path. Sorry, I derailed the conversation, Clay.
No.
I love the path that the Holy Spirit took us down just now. But I think initially, I played sports. I played basketball and golf in high school, and okay,
I have to ask, were you good?
I was good enough to start, Clay.
Well,
I was good enough to start on my team. I wasn't getting any scholarships anywhere.
Okay.
And at 5'9", it was my possibility of going to the NBA was pretty low. So, but I thought, man, what am I passionate about? And music was one of the things that I was always passionate about. My family is not particularly musical. My mom was in the choir. My dad sang a little bit. My grandmother was a gospel solo recording artist for a time. But I gravitated to music, and but didn't know if there was any way that I could pursue a career in that, and so I'm asking my guidance counselor in high school, going into college, like what I should get into, and I was like a B+ type of student, and the classes that I excelled in for some weird reason were like accounting and business finance. And so I pursued that role, went to school for business finance, and I was working for J.P. Morgan Chase. I worked for Bank of America for a little bit as well, but I was a bank teller, was in customer service, and even was like in training to become a personal banker at one point before I really wrestled with, man, I'm making more money than all my little 21, 22-year-old friend group, but I really feel unfulfilled for some reason. It's no coincidence, Clay, that was also around the time that I'd made a conscious effort to be back involved in my church at a higher level, almost a rededication to Christ, but not just a rededication to the Lord, but a rededication to Christ's church during that season. And that's for the first time when I really felt this tug into vocational ministry. And so I left the banking world and thought, I'm going to go to this little Bible school called CF&I and intern for my local church.
Back up. You attended CF&I?
Yeah. Yeah.
What year?
Oh, man. I was older than everybody else. I think I was 24.
Most of the students at CF&I are older.
True enough. I think I went there for a year and a half. I think it was it 04, 05? I think we talked about this before.
I'm worse than you on time. I was there for 11 years.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that set me on this path, this course, Clay, of following.
So which church? What was the first church you were on staff at?
Man, I think the first opportunity I got, I interned at a beautiful church locally called Crossroads of Life AG. My mentor was
Duncanville.
In Duncanville.
Okay, yeah.
My mentor was Don Jones. Pastor Galen Clonch was our pastor.
Oh, okay.
And later became Greg White.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's my first opportunity to really cut my teeth.
Okay.
In ministry or having ministry opportunities, being able to serve the house, do all the things, cleaning up the office, printing out chord charts, cleaning up the bathrooms, all the things that build character, as they say.
Yeah.
And then after that, my first full-time job was at another local church called Trinity Church in Cedar Hill.
Okay.
And I was the associate worship pastor there for, I think, almost 4 years. And Portia, with her background being in education, there was a school attached to the church. She was the elementary school principal. And so that was our life for a season. And then God took us from Trinity to a multi-site church in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Beautiful church out there called River Valley Church with Rob and Becca Ketterling, the pastors there. We had thought we'd be out there for a few years. That turned out to be 11 incredible years. Before last year, we felt like God was asking us to come back to Dallas to make this our home base. And so we've been back home in Dallas for a year now, and it's been incredible. But that's my journey in worship.
Worship's important to you.
It is.
Why?
We spoke earlier, Clay, about being coming from a divorced home. I think one of the things that quite literally saved my life, and that sounds like hyperbole, but I was raised in the inner city, and I had close proximity to some rough situations. I have friends that made choices that took them down paths that led to destruction or death.
Yeah, or both. Yeah.
Or both, right?
Yeah.
And so when I say that the local church, saved my life, that's not a hyperbolic statement. That's like real for me. My mom had us in church anytime the door is open, as they say. And so I just know I had an incredible youth ministry, kids ministry, and a church community that really embraced my family and loved on me. And as I mentioned before, just taught me the ways of God, including worship and living a lifestyle of worship. So worship is important to me because, one, our relationship with God, I believe we were created to worship Him. And number two, I just feel that I'm in I owe a huge debt of gratitude, but devotion to God by the way I live out my life in worship, because he's done so much for me. And so I'm like, man, it would just be a travesty for me to turn my back on God for all that he's done for my family and I, all the things I've seen, all the miracles, all the ways, the provision all the ways he's provided for my single mom and siblings. So I've just tried to not live a perfect life because I don't believe in perfection this side of eternity, but consistency and progress is always something that I'm pursuing. And living a perpetual lifestyle of worship is important to me.
Do you think the church, we have strayed from worship?
Oh, wow. What a what a grandiose question. That's a heavy question. I think in some ways, I think the fact that I've been in the field of worship, that's been my lane in particular, I can give you a biased perspective of like glass half full. And then I could also be critical of it because it's my lane too, you know? And so I've seen a lot of ups and downs of it. And I think that I've seen in this last decade the biggest movement of commercialization of worship that I think we've seen in a long time.
Okay, so stop there just for a second. Okay, what is that? What is that? I know what that means,
yeah.
But for those that don't, what does that mean?
I think that there was a time where CCM, Christian music, was more artistic in its expression, and it wasn't necessarily written as congregational corporate music. But the last decade, there has been a huge rise of the worship genre in particular taking over even the Christian music industry. So you don't even hear Christian music on the radio as much these days as you hear worship music in particular.
Yeah, sure.
And so now anything that's a good thing, humanity, we like to take it, and opportunists then like to capitalize on it. And so we've now commercialized even worship. It's a moneymaker. That was
okay, so, which is, for some of the, and I'm going to use the term big boys.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of rocks thrown at them because it is generating a lot of cash.
Yeah.
So how would you respond to that?
I think that the positive spin that I could choose to look at that as well is that the gospel of Jesus Christ is being put out into the atmosphere, into the airwaves. It could be easy to say, take the glass half empty approach and say, "Oh man, Clay, we are burning. The ceiling is falling." But I think in the same breath that we can say, man, it is kind of disheartening sometimes to see something as pure to me as worship be commercialized and kind of have this veneer aspect to it. I also want to commend the ones that are still trying to keep it pure, that are saying, I have a bigger platform, but I still love Jesus, and I just want to put the gospel out in the airwaves.
And we don't know what they're doing with that platform.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, some of these guys, you wouldn't know it, but they are sowing into the kingdom dollars that
100%
that nobody knows about. Now, it's just like anything. It's we could throw all kinds of ministries under the bus because of the dollars.
Right.
The thing I think that comes to my mind is that generation before us. For many of them, financially, it did not end up well.
Mm.
They didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're pretty much hand to mouth. That's about it. And they were fine with it. So the good news is I did see some organizations that stepped up and kind of filled the gap.
Yeah.
At the end of the race for them.
Praise God.
So I like my question always is, okay, what are you doing with this? With these funds, that's my only question.
Sure.
What are you feeding the kingdom with this?
Yeah.
And if you are, then we might want to back up just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Like yourself too. I see this as a platform to reach people for the Lord Jesus Christ. And
absolutely.
As long as that's the platform,
I can get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, who am I or who are any of us to be critical of the fact that whatever they got, whatever it is, a gazillion hits on their song, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And because, I mean, worship today, and the beauty about today, too, is whatever your style is, it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at one time, you had hymns, you had Southern gospel, and that's what you had.
Right. Right. Which are foundational. I mean, I still love those.
Oh, me too. Yeah. The last year that Barbara was alive, Barbara only asked for one thing. The last 2 years she was alive, just get me to church somehow, some way.
Wow.
And I would like. It was challenging, to say the least. And Barbara, like yourself, loved music, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, just loved music. So that was one of the hard things. Was at first she couldn't remember the words, and then later she couldn't remember the tunes. You know? So the last year she was alive, I would push her down the street in her wheelchair, and as we were going home, I would always sing to her the old hymns of the church. Now, when I first started singing, she always laughed. Because what you don't know about me, Chris knows, this boy can't sing, okay?
You're still making a joyful noise,
It is
Clay?
a joyful noise,
yeah.
I guarantee you, brother. So I hear what you're saying. Hymns are definitely...
Thanks for sharing that, by the way. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry?
I said, thanks for sharing that, by the way. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Music's important, brother.
Yeah, I believe so. It's very powerful.
I remember it is, and it's life-changing.
Right.
And a lot of what's being written today is scriptural based. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's one of the things that I think excites me about worship as of late. I feel like there is an avenue of writers that are returning back to the theology that hymns used to carry.
Yeah. I agree.
A lot of worship was like me focused. And,
yes.
And I think there's a place for like lament and about what I'm going through that helps people relate.
Yeah,
there's a book in the Bible called Lamentations for a reason.
Unfortunately, that's a tough one.
right. But I also love there are some pockets of worship, whether it's worship collectives, whether it's based in ministries like churches. Those are my favorite when they're rooted in a local church, that are almost having this like return to like the structure of hymns, of like chocked full of theology and just with a modern spin on it. And so I love what seemingly feels like a return to that.
Yeah. It's difficult to have problems in your church when you're worshiping together as one. Now, I'm sure that I'm sure I will get some tweets on that, and they won't be happy. Okay.
I love that though.
There's something about there's a oneness.
Yeah.
When we worship together, that helps us kind of put the stuff that we thought was important, maybe not.
Right. When our focal point is on Jesus.
Exactly, and His love. So, and you know about our dream of building facilities, new facilities. You're at our summit here a month or so ago.
Yeah, that
was before we lost our top player.
Oh man, that literally was right before. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it happened right after.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you saw the pictures of the building, and
people were doing bad in Dallas. Dallas sports are tough right now.
Yeah. Well, maybe the Rangers will come back.
There we go.
Year,
we go.
I wouldn't be surprised. They definitely have some talent. There's no question about that. But our goal is to not only set up this next generation of leaders in a position to win, but to put them in a position to take Metro to the next level. So there are people watching us today. What would you tell them? Why should they get involved and help us believe for this miracle?
I think that any place that you want to invest in, you just want to know that it's a worthy cause. You want to know that it's going towards efforts that are noble and they're full of integrity. And I think that, Clay, you and this ministry have a proven track record of making character and integrity decisions, but also of developing people and believing in people and rescuing people. And so I think it's a worthy investment for anybody, whether you're a believer or even a non-believer, to get behind the efforts of Dallas Metro, because it's life-changing. It's making an impact, an indelible mark on the community for 30 plus years. So yeah, I'm a big advocate and a proponent for anybody listening to go, yeah, you will get the return on investment. Yeah. If you invest in.
That's a financial person talking about that. ROI. ROI. Right? ROI, right?
That's a little bit of the old financial background coming out.
I had someone that they met Tim for the first time, and said, pastors look for a good return. He says, ROI. And that young man right there, I went, yes. Not only is it a good return, I said, he's investable.
That's good. Oh, wow.
And so, God's raising up a new generation, and it's humbling to be a part. Clinton, thanks for being here today, brother.
Man,
thanks for taking time out of your schedule.
I love having conversations like this. This is great.
Appreciate you so being here today. Thank
you.
Thank you for being a friend. So appreciate it. I hope you've been blessed today. All the good stuff about worship, that was Clinton. The other stuff I said, very controversial. I know, I understand. Remember, I can't sing, so what do I know, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, we're so glad you chose to be with us today. We're so close to turning some dirt and getting this process started. We're in the process of getting the paperwork to the city for the site plan, and then after that, building permit.
Wow.
We just needed some funds. And so I'm asking you today, would you go to our webpage, dallasmetro.org, click on All In, and click on What is All In? And I'm asking you, would you prayerfully consider today making a one-time gift, or maybe you could help us for the next 12 months. We're believing God for a miracle. Our commitment is to do this absolutely debt-free. We can't do it unless you join with us. Would you consider joining with us today? So glad to see you. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, folks. God bless you. Bye-bye.